welcome back to FordeeTV. I'm your host, Fordee. So today we are going to recreate what we did yesterday inside of Final Cut Pro, but we are going to do it in Mocha Pro. Basically, Mocha Pro is an award-winning tracker used for object removal, camera stabilization, rotoscoping, and other types of effects. So let me show you what we're going for, and then let's jump right in. Yo, welcome back to FordeeTV. I'm your host, Fordee. So guys, I have exciting news, right? I've been pinching my pennies, saving my money, and I bought an aquarium, huh? Check it out. Not bad, right? The only thing that maybe isn't believable is pinching pennies during a pandemic, yo. Anyway, let's jump right in. I'm gonna switch over to Mocha Pro. I'm gonna click on File, New Project, and let's bring this project in. Click Choose. And here we are, aquarium, green screen, MOV, click open. We're gonna bring in all the frames. You wanna make sure your frame rate matches up to the source footage. I shot this on my cell phone and it was 30 frames per second. I'll click on OK. It's because I've already imported this before, it's gonna ask me if I wanna overwrite the project files that were in the results folder. I'm gonna say yes. If you haven't imported footage, that dialog will not pop up, right? So I'm gonna scroll through this footage. And you can see at the end here, we have the windows with green construction paper on them, right? Not even tiled very well. Doesn't matter though, because in fact, using this method, because I'm not crossing in front of this, I actually do not need any green here, right? In fact, even if I did walk in front of it, I could rotoscope myself out using Mocha Pro. It would just be a few more steps, it would be more steps. But anyway, so first things first, let's create the right window. I'm gonna come up here and click on my X-spline tool right there. Well, before we do that, why don't we zoom out? Clicking on the zoom tool, dragging down, giving myself some space up at the top right there. I'll click on the X-spline and I will start to draw, right? And when I click here, I'm just gonna do it roughly because we'll come in and change it. On the last button, when I click, I'll right click on my mouse and that will complete the spline, right? Next, when I click one of these handles, you'll notice my zoom is not appearing. So I'll go over to View, Overlays, and Zoom Windows. Now, when I move one of these, you'll see in the top left of the screen, you'll see that I get a zoom so I can be much more accurate. So when I bring it up here, if I click on this blue handle and I pull it out, this makes it so it is not a curved point, right? So I'm going to do that to all of them in this particular situation, and I'm going to roughly try to get this as good as I can. Typically, let me go ahead and click on the hand so I can move this down a little bit. Typically, you want to actually leave your X-spline larger than the object. However, we're not going to be using tracking data here, although I guess, yeah, we are, but we are going to export shape data, and we'll bring that into After Effects. So I'm going to get this pretty close. Let's see, come up here, somewhere about there, give or take. Let's click this side, this one maybe a little bit over, somewhere like there. And that looks all right, right? And let's see how it does. So once we have this set, we'll double click on the layer name to rename it, and we'll call this right window. To the window! Anyways, my sense of humor, huh? I need coffee, yo. So before we track backwards, let's scroll and see where this window stops. It doesn't matter that that X-spline is staying in place. It looks like it stops at 351, huh? So we'll come over to frame 351. We'll make sure this layer is selected. There's no other layers, so obviously, right? And we'll set an in point right there. Now we're saying whatever tracking we do, make sure you do it in this part of the timeline, right? We don't need to track this because this window doesn't appear there, right? So coming to the end where we set this up, obviously you don't have to do it at the end. You could have done it at the beginning. The reason we did it at the end is because this is where we can see the full window. So over here in your timeline, these are your tracking buttons, right? This is track back one frame. This is track forward, track back until it cannot track no more. Then you have track forward, right? But because we're coming from the end of the timeline, we're going to track back. We'll just click this button and we'll let it go. You're probably going to see in the top that it starts to drift, right? And one of the things that I mentioned, if I stop and I go back to the beginning, we can make a change, huh? We could turn on perspective because for sure perspective is changing. So let's do that. It's more computer intensive, but to get a better track, and there is a good amount of motion, so we'll leave it at large motion. I'll track back again. All right, so I'm going to speed this up in post, but you can see on the top that it's drifting, and we will fix that. We're just going to finish the track, and we will be right back. Boom. You'll notice once it got to here, it went all crazy because it lost all points. And what's amazing is even here, right? We only have one tracking point in frame, and yet it still kept the perspective of the window here. It's amazing, huh? So one of the things we can do is scroll back here, and we can go to Insert Clip, and let's switch this to like a grid, huh? Whoops. Maybe we should not set that to a grid. What we need to do first is click on the surface tool, right? This is the planar surface, and we need to set this. That's why when we clicked on that, it wasn't working. I really need coffee, yo. And this is just so we can see if this is on, right? So we're going to do two things. We're going to set this, then we're going to go to Insert Clip. We'll switch this to the grid. And then as we scrub through our timeline, let's see if we have to make any changes, right? I mean, we're kind of lucky here. It looks actually really good. So sometimes what you'll have to do is like maybe here. You'll notice right here that this has moved up, but that's because the window has now moved. That part of the window is now outside of the shot, and the computer is smart enough, or the Mocha is smart enough to realize that. So it's changing this surface in relation. We could turn off the surface here, and I think this is pretty good. But for example, if you needed to change your track, you would look for the biggest motion. When we look here, that's a huge motion. We could then drag these down, for example, and it would set a keyframe, and then it would track between keyframes, right? So this keyframe is the only one we really set right here, right? At the end. But if we made a keyframe here, it would track using whatever change we made from here to there, right? Using already the tracking data that's in there. But we got lucky, huh? So we'll go back to the end of the clip, and we are going to click on the X-spline tool again, and here we are going to draw another one. Again, loose to start, then we can go ahead and adjust. After we click on the last one, we'll right click to end the X-spline. We'll go ahead and drag these blue handles out to make them this more rectangle, right, instead of curved. And the reason we're doing that again is because we are going to export shape data, and the shape needs to match this window. So typically, your search area is going to be a little bit bigger than what's going on here, but in this particular circumstance or example, it is going to be exact. Now, we could have tracked it larger and then changed the size later, right? If you're having problems with your track, right, you could track it like this. This is giving it more information to track, and that is a good idea. We'll turn on perspective, but in this circumstance, this is fairly easy shot to track, so we're just going to lay this. Let's try to get this a little bit, but I want to get that black part, it looks like. So we'll put that there. We're going to come over here and something like that, more or less, and somewhere there, and somewhere maybe there. Ish, right? We're cutting into the brown a little bit, so obviously that's not perfect, but I think that it will end up looking better in the end. So we'll set it to be there, huh? Now we're gonna track back, but first we should find where this doesn't need to be tracked anymore. So if I scroll right to one more frame, 394 probably, give or take. Let's go back there. We'll set the in point for this layer. I should probably name it, double click, and we'll say this is left window. And then we will scroll back to the end, and we will track backwards. So the tracking terminated early, but that's because all the control points left the screen, and that's fine because this is where we wanted it to stop anyway, right? 394. Because as soon as it comes right here, you see the tip, it's on, just the tip. And if we scroll back to the back, we can turn on the planar surface, set this, and then check our work, right? So we'll come up here to the corner, we'll come up here to the corner, we'll come right here. Now this does not have to match your search area, huh? So if I use the larger search area, then this could just go over the plane that I'm trying to replace or insert something. But the reason that I set the track to be the size of the window is because it's going to be exported as shape data, and the shape is literal. So I'll come over here to insert clip, I'll turn on the grid, and obviously there's different size grids, 8x8, 16 and 32x32. I don't think it matters which one we're using right now. We just want to see how well this looks, and it is looking fine, baby. So let's go back to the end. And now that we have this stuff on, we can go ahead and turn off our turn off the grid. Whoops, cancel. We can come over to the other window, and we can turn off the grid, go to none, boom. So we have this information. And now what do we need to do? In the tracking panel, which you should have been working in to begin with, you have export shape data, right? So if I click on export shape data, I could say all visible layers, and then you have a selection. Mocha shape data for AE is exactly what we want, but if we wanted something else, we would select something else. So if you wanted information for another system that you're using, whether it's Fusion, whether it's Flame, etc., you can do that here. So I'm going to say all visible layers. I'm going to say copy to clipboard, and let's switch on over to After Effects, baby. Okay, we've switched over to After Effects. I have the same clip loaded here in a composition, right? With this composition selected, even though over here is where the shape data is going to exist, you need to make sure that you are on the beginning frame for this, right? We're going to go up to Edit. We're going to go to Paste Mocha Mask, and boom, what happened, right? So let's scroll over, and you'll notice that that mask data is fine right there, right? But over here, what's going on? Anyways, let's go ahead and reveal this mask data over here in the mask, and let's select this to be subtract, huh? There we go. And let's scroll back and let's see what happens here. I don't know what's going on in the end with that one mask. It just went crazy. So let's, which mask is that, huh? It's this mask. So once it comes out of frame, which is probably right there. What frame is this? 351? I don't remember, right? Let's switch back over to Mocha, and we'll make sure which is which. It was yeah, it was 351, huh? So, switching back to After Effects to see what's going on, baby. What we might do is, let's zoom in right here, and let's just delete this. Let's see if that fixes it, huh? There we go. So now it should be starting on 352. I don't know what happened to the mask. We could have went back into Mocha and fixed it, but this is good enough, huh? And I think you see how the mask is staying on right there? That might be an issue right there. So what we have to do is probably come here, and then we're going to take this, and we're going to go like that. And we'll just move it out of the screen, the end point, right? So when we come here, boom, it pops on, and we should be good to go, right? So next, we are going to zoom out. Now, we can do this here inside of After Effects, or we can do this exporting this clip with an alpha channel and bring it into Final Cut. So why don't we do that? I'm going to say File. Oops, I'm going to go to Composition. Come on, brain. Add to Render Queue. Under Lossless, I'm going to click on that. I'm going to change my channels from RGB to RGB plus alpha. Next, I'm going to click on Format Options. I'm going to switch from animation, and you have to pick a codec that is going to work. I believe animation works also, but I'm just going to select Apple ProRes 444. I'll click on Start. I'll say OK. I'm going to change where this is being saved into the aquarium folder. And yes, I'll click on save, cancel. I will change the name of this to keyed, say save, click on render. All right, so let's switch on over to Final Cut Pro. Inside Final Cut Pro, I'm going to import. I'm going to import the footage, the keyed out footage. It's right here. I'll go ahead and drag this in. And now if we come over here, you'll see what's going on. We've got some stuff. Now, look right here. It looks like because I didn't have it go off screen, it has this part of the green screen here. We could go ahead and fix that, but instead of doing that, I'm just going to bump this up to 102% and it won't show. Cheating my way into victory, right? So let's see. In one of these, I have the footage right here, the great white. We drop this in somewhere. And if we come over here, boom, look at that, huh? So, obviously you want to match up the footage on the bottom. I'm not worried about this. The point of the tutorial is to show you how this works, and it's looking mighty fine. Obviously, we'd probably color correct this. We'd go ahead and drop some noise layers on top to make everything mesh, and then color correct the whole thing as a whole. That would better sell the look. But, you know, that was fairly simple, right? The track was easy. Creating the shapes is easy. This for sure is a better solution. Granted, Mocha is quite expensive, so if you're not rotoscoping and doing effects on a permanent basis, then for sure you're not going to have access to this software. Guys, I hope you like this tutorial, and if if you found it helpful. Share it with your friends. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Have a good day and a good week, guys. Until next time, I'm out.